Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Start Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle where freedom and relationships rule.
Welcome back to the Essence of Homeschooling. Last time we talked a bit about becoming a homeschooler, how to do that, the mindset shift that happens when we become a homeschooler, and also various things on the nuts and bolts. Today, we understand that oftentimes we have to fight our own fear of missing out or the fear for our children of what they're missing out when we become a homeschooler. So let's dive in and talk about the various things we've been concerned that our kids have missed out on and how homeschooling has still filled in those gaps.
I know when I started homeschooling, and when I say started homeschooling, I mean like for the first 8 years that I was homeschooling, I really struggled with fear of missing out, looking around at everybody else and what they were doing, whether it was the curriculum that they had or the programs they had their kids in or the extracurriculars they had their kids in, whatever it was. And being in Colorado Springs, there are a ridiculous number of options. Co-op, homeschool groups, meetup group, private lessons, private group lessons, public enrichment programs, publicly funded academic support for homeschoolers. And then when you add the slew of curriculum, it was mind-boggling to me. And it was overwhelming and confusing. And I would look around and I wanted my kids to turn out well. And so I'd see homeschool families that were doing it right. And I was like, okay, maybe I should be doing what they're doing. And we would try different things. And the positive side to that was my kids got to try a lot of different things. And so they had a lot of experiences to find out what they were interested in, what they weren't interested in. But our schedule became ridiculous. The number of things we had going on in our life, balancing the schedule of being outside of the house, attending the different things we were attending, and then balancing the work that we needed to do at home for the actual education, it became very difficult. And then wasted money on buying curriculum that we really had no business using because it wasn't our style. It wasn't what was going to fit our family. So FOMO is a really big deal. And it's really important to me to try to help homeschoolers avoid this as much as possible because it can actually wreck your homeschool experience if you spend time worrying and being scared of what you're missing out on rather than looking at your own resources, turning inward to your own home and your own family to see what each person's needs are and what things are going to benefit your family because what's going to benefit your family probably isn't going to match what other families are doing. And it doesn't have to. It doesn't need to match everybody else. And I feel like there's been a major shift in the homeschool community, especially in Colorado and in other states that have a lot of options like Colorado does, where people start relying more on the programs that they're involved in and that they've signed up for. And it's no longer homeschooling what is actually happening. It's become more of an alternative education. And we want to get back to the essence of homeschooling and the beauty of homeschooling. And we fight for that in our homeschools. And don't use that term lightly. Like sometimes you really have to fight a mental fight to say, what is the right thing for my family to do? And where should we putting our energy and our resources and our time? And how can we protect those boundaries that our kids need us to protect? Because they still need downtime. They need time to rest. They need time to be bored. They need to have time to figure out how they're going to fill their time. They need time to dream. They need time to be able to sit quietly. If you're a family of faith and you're trying to instill this in your kids, they need time to sit quietly and learn to listen for the Holy Spirit speaking to them and convicting them of things that they need to be convicted of and directing them. They need time to sit at home in the quiet space and learn how to work out their own faith. So FOMO can be very, very dangerous. We're going to go through some things today that we have struggled with FOMO or things that we're familiar with. Maybe we've walked through that with friends. maybe it's firsthand things that we experienced, and then the things that we learned about that and why you don't have to be scared of it, why you don't have to be afraid of missing out on what other people will do or what you see other people doing in their homeschools.
So what kinds of things did you worry your kids were missing out on? Where you kinda had FOMO for your children. They didn't know to have it, but you had it for them.
I had 2 big areas looking back of FOMO. One was over curriculum and classes, and one was over high school opportunities. The first one, curriculum and classes, I would start to feel FOMO when I was planning for the next school year, and I would be looking at websites or looking at curriculum in the store, and everything looks so good. I wanna do everything. And so I'd start making these lists of, oh, my kids need to learn, of course, history, science, math, English, language arts, all those things. But then there's so many extras. And I had this long list. Well, we have to learn Spanish and Chinese and Japanese, and we need French. And wait, we need typing. And no, wait, now we need music and art and PE. And eventually the list was just way too big. So I had FOMO for them of missing out on something curriculum wise that I felt I couldn't do that year. And instead of taking the big picture of their career of homeschooling, I guess, and seeing the beauty of being able to do everything in the time that that child needs it versus 4th grade we really need to do state history. By 3rd grade we need to start typing, that sort of thing.
Educational gaps, right? Scared
Yeah.
of the gaps. That's I think every homeschool, and I think that's a reasonable thing to be considering, or gaps in education and how you can fill that.
Yes, gaps, and then when you would talk to other homeschool moms, especially ones who are doing it so well,
Mhm.
and you hear about what they're doing, and then I would think, "Oh my goodness, that never even occurred to me. Wait, now my child needs to learn whatever it is, watercolors or" and it would just
Coding.
be yes, coding. Oh my goodness, coding, yes, or anything computer related, and so it was definitely a FOMO for educational gaps and curriculum.
And Latin, don't forget Latin.
Might as well add Greek in there,
Hebrew, let's
Hebrew.
but they
They'll
should
never be
graduate in
able to
high school.
understand the Bible if they don't learn Greek and Hebrew.
Oh, man, you're adding to my stress. But I think the ability to fight FOMO and truly find the essence of homeschooling comes with time. Once you have embraced homeschooling as a lifestyle, instead of looking at, I'm going to homeschool for 6th grade, and so I need to do these 6th grade classes. I think once you get over that mindset and you are fully embraced in the lifestyle, it becomes easier to fight the FOMO because you can more easily discard things that don't fit your family, your goals, and your priorities for that year.
So what's the solution if I'm a new homeschool mom and I'm going through what you were just talking about? And this time of year, it's hard too because everybody's talking about what they're doing. And I have them and they're getting their pilot's license and right, Michelle? Or
I'm not, but a daughter is.
no, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, look
I
at
do.
Michelle's daughter. She's getting her pilot's license, or did she already get it? Has
She has it.
So she got her pilot's license. Oh, my kids aren't doing that. Now I need to get them in that program, what that Michelle's kid did to get her pilot's license. And I need to do this language program. I need to do this co-op where they take this science and that lab. And we should be, everything we talked about. What's the solution? What do you say to the moms who are listening to everything that's going on and they thought they had a plan and now we're getting back into school and now they're scrambling contacting those programs, seeing if they can get their kid on the wait list and do they still have openings. And I thought I was going to use this curriculum. Now I need to go buy the new curriculum. What's your advice?
Well, I like what Stacy said is, well, I would say first, before what Stacy said, is take a deep breath, right? Remember who your family is. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Make a get a spreadsheet or a piece of paper, fold it in half. What you're doing on one side, what your sudden dream list is on the other side. And think through, pray through, talk through with your spouse those different things. The reminder Stacy had of that this comes with time, right? And all of us, we've had all those times where we have jumped in and been like, oh, we have to do this and this and this, and we exhaust ourselves. So we have to look at that calendar. We say it over and over again. Look at the big picture and then work backwards, right? If you're planning on just 1 year of homeschooling and then putting them back in school, well, you better look at what they need to get into that next year of school to be successful, and then only focus on those big things along with the fun things you want to do. But then if you're planning all the way through high school, you do have to look at those big pictures. What are the things that they're going to need? So then how do I help them take the steps to be ready? Right? When we teach our kids how to drive, we already know that's coming. So when they're in the car with us, even as elementary students, we're pointing out, well, what's that sign mean? What does that sign mean? What does this color light mean? Right? The little steps so that when they get behind the wheel, they're not as worried about all those signs. They've learned them. And then now they have to learn the mechanics. These are the steps we take to help them get to those things. I also like what you said, Colleen, at the beginning when you said there was actually good things that came from it. And we need to remember that there are many good things that can come from every year, even if they weren't our favorite year of homeschooling. So something good will come out of it, even if it's just learning, oh, this is what I don't like doing. This is not how I want to live. But you do have to decide how you want your family to live and make sure it's authentic for you. I think most of us agree that the essence of homeschooling is being our authentic selves,
Hmm.
being our authentic family, helping our children be who they are, right? Stacy, your daughter doesn't care about her private license. So why would you go her private pilot's license? So why would you send her the program my daughter went to, right? We're not going to repeat the things because we need to know who our children are and who we are through those things and how we homeschool. Oh no.
And I would also add to the mom who is stressing about this right now in August as we're preparing for this next year, be realistic. Be realistic with your expectations for your year. It's not going to be Instagram perfect, and that's okay. That shouldn't be the expectation. Be realistic with your time management skills. Be realistic with your child's abilities. Every child is different, learns different, is on a different schedule. And just because a curriculum says it's meant for sixth grade doesn't mean your child has to do it in sixth grade. Be realistic with your family budget, because if you start adding in activities because of FOMO and you blow your family budget, you're just going to have regret, and that will transfer over to how you homeschool. And that will affect the essence of homeschooling, the lifestyle that you're having. If you don't have money to do something else because you've, out of FOMO, added whatever the co op class curriculum may be at the last minute. So, are you making decisions out of fear that your child will miss out, or are you making decisions based on goals and priorities that you've set for your family? And don't forget that even those people who look like they have it together and are in that perfect co-op and are doing that perfect program, they might not truly have everything figured out like you think they do. And if that program is working for them, that's great. It doesn't mean that it has to work for you and your family. So always stay true to your family's goals and priorities, and don't look at what other people are doing from the outside and compare yourself.
Absolutely. I always say don't compare your insides to other people's outsides because their insides are not what you see. And I guarantee, I promise you 100% with all confidence, their insides in their house do not look anything like you think it actually does. I don't care how much they seem like they have it together. When they're all at home, they have just struggles too.
Yes, all we see is the Instagram and Facebook pictures, and that's not real life.
Mm. Nobody puts their real life on social media.
And I know the times that I created stress in my own home when I was thinking my kids are missing out because we weren't doing a program everyone else was doing. And so I joined the program and we did it. I had to continue with it for the year because it dropped a lot of money on it, and realized, wow, this is not my stellar year homeschooling. This is not who we are. And so I could look back and go, well, at least they had an education that year, but we won't do that again. And I became more authentic to who and what our family does for education. And at least we grew through it. But sometimes I look back and I think it was a wasted year because it was a hard one. But thankfully, there's still good that comes out of it. And at least I learned that I don't want to be that way. And my kids learned that wasn't their style either. So that was good.
I think that's a big lesson for our kids to teach them how to resist peer pressure. This is a different kind of peer pressure than what kids in schools have to deal with, right? It's a whole different level, and it's more of what we deal with as adults when you realize that you have your own thoughts and opinions, and they might not line up with what the conventional wisdom is around you. And you need to stay true to yourself and stay true to your beliefs, regardless of anything. This is where our kids learn how to do that. So, if you want to talk about like real social skills, like real resilience, grit, we've talked about grit a lot. When our kids see all the other kids doing something and all their friends are participating in some group or in some co op or in some karate class or a band or, or insert the blank. When your kids are saying, why aren't we doing this like all of them? And you can say, because that's not right for our family, or because we don't have the money to do that, or because that's not the way we're going to choose to spend the money that we do have. Or I want to protect our schedule more so that you're not overscheduled and stressed out because you deserve to still have playtime because we still want family time. You can have a whole slew of reasons of why it's not good for your family. And then that teaches your kids how to make good, hard decisions and to be able to not give in to what everybody else is doing. And when they're younger, that's great training because when they get into high school, if they do dual enrollment classes or if they play sports at a school or a sports league, even a homeschool sports league with other homeschoolers, they're going to be in a position where people are going to challenge them on why they either don't do certain things that other people do or why they do things differently. And when they have gone through that training of making careful and intentional choices growing up, they can speak to that better themselves when they're interacting with other people.
Are you looking for a supportive community to walk with you through your homeschooling journey? Look no further. Start Academy is your go-to umbrella school for fulfilling legal reporting requirements in Colorado. But what if you don't live in Colorado? We still serve you through our support tools and services. At Start Academy, we're not just another institution. We're your partners in education, providing comprehensive support services designed to empower, encourage, and equip you to be the best homeschool parent that your children deserve. Teacher and student IDs, parent and professional evaluations, attendance logs, record-keeping services, DIY high school transcripts, or our official homeschool high school transcript service produces personalized transcripts that highlight your students' unique accomplishments. High school diplomas celebrate your family's achievement when you successfully complete the adventure. Additionally, our experienced homeschool coaches provide one-on-one support throughout your journey. Custom tailor your homeschool support system by selecting one of our 3 enrollment packages based on your family's needs. This way, you can get exactly what you need to make the most of your homeschooling experience. We come alongside you in the way you want to be supported, whether that's the bare minimum or holding your hand each step of the way. The umbrella school Start Academy provides what you want the way you want it. So why wait? Enroll with Start Academy today and unlock a world of possibilities for your homeschooling journey. Go to theumbrellaschool.com to learn more and sign up. We can't wait to serve your family.
That's an excellent point about the training them to understand who they are and what they value by talking through how we value certain things or how we want to spend our money, how we want to spend our time. Because there is this idea that our youth are superhuman and they have time for everything. They can do every social event, they can do every sport, they can get A's in all their classes. And so they sign up for all of this. And I did have a year where I let one of my kids and I said, fine, you can do it all. Let's find out. And it was a stressful year. It impacts the family and the schedule was crazy. But it's also an important year where they have to learn, oh, part of being human is being limited in time, in energy, in resources. And so this is a good lesson. And really, if we're living into who we really are with the gifts we have been given, then we're not missing out. We're living into the authentic truth of who we are. If we're trying to be like everyone else, then we're actually missing out hugely on the gift that we are, the gift our children are, and the blessing of being an individual.
I think you miss out on the relationship too, because busyness, being busy and preoccupied is a killer of relationships. Because instead of sitting down and going slow and being peaceful in the moment and engaging on an emotional and mental and intellectual level with your kids, you're going from here, here, here. We got to get this done. We have to get that done. We need to move along. We have to hurry up. We got to go. Stay on schedule. I think one thing too that's important to consider when or you're feeling FOMO is to look at your own childhood and the things that you might regret that you didn't get when you were a young person, when you were little. So one thing that I realized when I was little, I didn't get to do the activities that I wanted to do, but I had to do the activities that were expected of me because of the family that I was growing up in. So it was, my parents were both musical. So we were expected to be musical. We were expected to play the instruments, to do the orchestra, to do those things. And I didn't want to do any of those things. I wanted to do sports. I wasn't allowed to. I wanted to do other things. I wasn't allowed to. I wanted to explore. I wanted to try different things. And the answer was always no. And so by the time I had kids, looking back, I wanted to give them the world. I wanted to give them whatever they were interested in. I wanted to help them pursue. They even thought they were interested in it. I wanted to exhaust all options to try to give them the opportunities to see if that's really what they wanted to do. And it came from a place of wanting to do good things for my kids. But ultimately, I ended up stressing out my kids. because there was so much going on and there was such a busy schedule and we had to go, go, go all the time. And then I was stressing about getting the academics and the schoolwork done. These poor little boys had no break. They didn't have like the time. It was rare that they had time just to go outside and be little boys and climb trees and have their sword fights and, play all their games and ride their bikes and do the things they were doing. So I think it's important if you're starting to feel that FOMO, stop and think, what is it? What is it that I'm trying to fix? What is the thing that was missing from my child? Is there something that I'm trying to replace from my childhood that was missing or a regret that I had that maybe my kids aren't even experiencing? I don't need to overcompensate for bad things that happened in my childhood by doing too much for my kids and thereby hurting their situation and damaging them.
Stacy, you had also brought up there were things that wasn't so much our fear of missing out, but again, fear of what our kids miss out on. And you said more high school related, I think. What kind of things were those?
I felt that my kids might be missing out on traditional activities such as sports, dances, prom, homecoming, even having lockers, riding the school bus, having different teachers, guidance counselors to be able to get into a good college, being able to make friends. I felt at the beginning that that was all wrapped up into going to school, whether it was public or private. And I couldn't see how I could duplicate that as a homeschooler. And that caused me a lot of stress when my kids were young, when I didn't need to think about that. I wish I could have just enjoyed the time when they were younger more instead of stressing about what am I going to do when.
Mm,
Because when the when came with my oldest, I put her in a part-time school, part-time homeschool, private school, because I thought she needed all those things, the friendships and the classes and the teachers and the dances and the sleepovers and all the activities. And we lasted about 5 weeks.
Hmm.
And like you had said earlier, it ended up being a waste of money and a waste of time, but it was a good learning experience for us because it took the blinders off of me
Good point.
at what I had idealized as the school experience.
mhm,
And once that happened, it was a hard lesson. We lost money, we lost time. But once that happened, I realized different is different. It's not better or worse.
mhm,
And so when you find that essence of homeschooling, you can either create those experiences for your child in whatever way that may be. For sports, there's competitive teams, there's club teams. In some states, you can play on public school teams, there's private school teams. That may be a possibility. There's a way to create that. Dances, there's options for dances. Friendships, that can come from co ops, that can come from sports, that can come from church, that can come from a wide variety of things. So just because it didn't look like my high school doesn't mean that it was worse. And I wish I had known that earlier.
I know not everybody's a Christian that we support, but I always look at it and tell my kids, yeah, the Bible's always right. Like Jesus said, don't worry about tomorrow, for today has enough worries of its own. And I think when we fear of missing out in the future, it's like it's so irrelevant and we don't even know what the future looks like and we don't need to worry about it. It'll sort itself out. And a lot of the time it's different. We have these nostalgic ideas or these visions that we see. Back to school time is the worst for me, y'all.
Hmm.
Like I don't even care. Like I don't even think about putting my kids in school anymore. It's like whatever, that is so not for us. I'm way past that. But the going back to school commercials for Target especially and Walmart just get me. Like they're so exciting and Like all the clothing stores, like, oh, the new outfits, oh, the new backpacks, oh, the new pencils, all the new notebooks. Like there's just like this feeling, right, of the exciting time of going back to school and a new beginning and all the new supplies and what is it going to be like? And it's not like that actually day to day in a school.
Right.
What we see on High School Musical or what we see on sitcoms or what we see in the movies does not resemble what a day in the life of a school actually is. So we shouldn't get caught up on marketing and advertising and the movies that are portraying a story and compare what our kids' experiences are to that. Because a lot of kids who homeschool and then end up going to public school, they last till they're like, "Get me out. This isn't anything like I thought it was. Forget about this. I don't want this." It's a very common thing for kids going to a public school situation after homeschooling.
And it's so easy to idealize something that is new to you.
Mhm.
And so those our kids sometimes see those commercials and those movies and they think, "Oh, that's what it's like. It must be wonderful." And
Mhm.
no matter what we say, they won't understand the drawbacks.
Yeah.
So I do feel that helping to fight FOMO is to find out from your kids what of those activities are important to them
Mhm.
and help to fill that need outside of a institutional school setting so they aren't missing out on something that they find important.
Mhm.
Right, because you already went through and showed us the different ways every single one of those extracurricular or even things that are in a school can be met without being in a school setting, being in a public or private school. You can either do it through a co op, there's sports leagues, there's music classes, art classes that are not connected with the school. And so they can still get that. Plus, there's times they even can ride a school bus because some co ops will get a school bus so they can ride a school bus.
I'm
But
laughing
guess
because my kids' youth group, the church, bought a prison bus. And so they go on youth cruise trips on an old prison bus.
well, see, now they won't ever want to have to do that again and they will have experienced it.
Check.
I don't need to go to prison to ride a prison bus. Yay. Been there, done that. Oh,
Life skill.
yeah.
One you didn't talk about, Stacy, is the guidance counselor for high school and how that piece can be everything else you covered, but for that piece, figuring out how to get in college and getting that support, how do homeschoolers check that box?
One aspect of high school that homeschool parents sometimes feel a lot of stress and anxiety over is getting into college. And they see that the local schools have guidance counselors. So, what do you think, Colleen, about the opportunities for homeschoolers to have guidance counseling or college admissions counseling?
Well, there's a ton of information just out there in the world. I mean, we're in such an information rich world at this point. You can find things if you're willing to read. I think one key to success for homeschooling is sitting down and having a willingness to read through things and through information. So, there's a ton of information out there. Anybody can figure out how to do it. There are also organizations that focus on that specifically. And then where we try to help people with that is through our homeschool coaching and through our homeschool coaches. And that's by working with women who have gone before you, who have already done this work and who have successfully gotten their kids into college and who have done it through experience, who can talk you through the things to look for and what they learned. And coming soon, Statheros will be providing college admissions consulting. So there are a lot of resources out there.
Research, I mean, again, it's purposeful living, isn't it? I
There-
think
all the information you need is out there. It's just a matter of taking the time to sit down and look for it. And then if you don't have the time to sit down and look for it, or you genuinely can't do it, whether it's maybe you have ADHD or there's something else going on, or you're busy working and you just don't have it, then outsource it. Our homeschool coaches would be happy to help you outsource that. Stacy is our high school specialist, and she's a great resource to tap into.
The great thing I'm hearing from this whole conversation, and what I'd like to encourage people to do, is actually reframe this idea of FOMO, reframe it into what are your children getting that others are not getting? What they
Mm.
are getting is time with their family. What they are getting is a specialized education tailored to who they are, how they learn, and what they want to know. What they are getting is relationships with their siblings, maybe even extended family, because I hear of a lot of families who grandparents or aunts and uncles help with curriculum, help with the class, have time with them. And so I think it's beautiful. Just reframe it to remember what you are giving your kids, and that it doesn't need to be elaborate or extensive. It can be simple so that you have time to breathe and enjoy the love of learning, time to relax and enjoy life together, where you meet each person's needs so that they're not drained by trying to keep up with the homeschool family next door. They get to be in their own schedule and in what's important to each one of them. Remember, there are a lot of good things out there, but just because it's good doesn't mean it is best for your family.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we need to keep in mind. Always ask yourself the question, is this what's best for my family? Is it good or is it best? Because you can have 20 good things, but that doesn't mean that it's best. Only choose the best. And just remember that throwing more money into programs or curriculums is not going to fix your homeschool. Buying the next thing, looking for that next curriculum that might be the option or the answer, it's not how it works. Being intentional with the time that you spend with your kids and how you interact with them and interact with their schoolwork, that is what's going to fix things in your homeschool. It's focusing on the relationships, focusing on how you can make the curriculum work for you, whether it's adjusting it or whether it's throwing it out and doing something more naturally, more organically. Going to the library, you don't have to spend money to fix it. Just be intentional and think about what you can do each day so that you can tune into your kids more and learn side by side with them and support them in the ways that they need to be supported.
I think the essence of homeschooling and fighting FOMO is relationships. The focus on relationships with your kids and that your kids have with each other. And I'm reminded of a story that a friend told me once where she was so focused on getting out the door with her children every day when she had to go to all the things we homeschool moms do. And she kept telling her toddler, get your shoes on, get your shoes on, get your shoes on. And the toddler procrastinated, sitting at the front door. Well, mom, will you help me? No, I'm busy. I have to do this. I have to pack this. I have to get this. Procrastinated until finally one day she exploded. Get your shoes on. We're going to be late. And the child said, but mommy, I like it when you and daddy help me. And when daddy helps me, he pretends that I'm a princess. And that makes me feel special. And she said, it really showed me that time with my family, slowing down and focusing on them instead of getting out the door to the next thing was the most important thing. And that was my most important job. And I've
Mm.
always tried to keep that story in mind about don't focus on getting the child out the door to the lesson, the curriculum, the co-op, the whatever, but focus on the child, him or herself, and the relationship that you're building.
Mm.
Relax, have time to enjoy each other, have time to enjoy your life, and the hard work of learning will come along.
Mhm. I would just add to that, How many times a day do you actually sit and look into your child's eyes
Mm.
and increase it? Whether you're doing it once or whether you're not doing it all, a genuine eye to eye looking into their souls through their eyes connection.
Yes, and another saying I've heard is that children spell love Time.
Mhm.
And that is what we can give them as homeschoolers. It's way more important than that French class or that pilot's license or that basketball class. Love is our time.
So the answer to how do you beat FOMO is LOVETIME.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. Be sure to check out today's show notes for all applicable links and additional resources. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your support helps us continue to bring you great content. Until next time, happy homeschooling.